Hi, my name is Leonie Duma, and today I'll basically be doing a brief presentation on the New Jersey legislative process. And in this slideshow that I'm going to present, or this PowerPoint presentation, I hope that I can kind of bring some form of awareness to the process and the system and how it works. So here we go. So let's start with the legislative process. So in New Jersey, what is legislation? So let's just start off with the basic definition. So the word legislation is derived from the Latin word legis, which means law, latum, which means to make or set. So a simple definition of legislation is just the making of law. So we already know about the three branches of government, just from a broader spectrum. So you have the legislative, which is Congress, which is the House of Rep, the Senate, executive, the president, the vice president, and the judicial, which is the Supreme Court, and it consists of the federal and state courts. But I think from a state level, let's just, scale it back a little bit and just see who those people are. So you have the legislative branch for the state, which consists of the Senate and the Assembly. The executive branch is the governor and the lieutenant governor. And the judicial branch consists of the Supreme Court, Superior Court, and Tax Court. And under all of those three branches, there's other like subcommittees, as you can see, that are under them. So you have agriculture, banking and insurance, children and families, community affairs, corrections, human services, education, labor and workforce development. These are just some of the different departments that are under those branches of government. And, the reason for the different branches is just so there's not like a separation of power, and like there is not one branch that kind of supersedes one another. So let's go into details about how us as citizens or American citizens can be a part of like this legislative or this making of the law process. So it all starts with us being a citizen and having a concern. We can write to our local politician, and basically, from that, they will introduce a bill. And just like, when it's done in the US Capitol, the bill also goes through a process within the state. Like it goes through first reading, speaker, Senate, third reading, the chamber, and to the point where it gets to the governor, who can actually sign the bill and it becomes law. So the New Jersey government, how basically the legislative process goes is the first step is the idea is developed, second is bill is drafted, then the bill is introduced, then the bill is referred to the committee. Ultimately, the governor can act on legislation. He can sign it or conditionally veto it, which means that he returns it, but he makes some amended changes to it, or he can veto it. Basically, he can veto any bill, even the ones that go through the House and the Senate. So let's talk about how we as citizens can be more active in the New Jersey legislation process. We can vote, we can join political parties, and all of these are just ways that we are participating in our democratic government. We can write to our major politicians, but basically policy making and implementation cannot happen without the citizens' input. And it's basically up to the leaders to put the output out. And, that's how the whole system works. So some of the ways that citizens can participate in government are we can speak on public issues, and we can do that by attending our local town hall meetings. Each town on their website, they have a certain section and a place that tells you what day within that month they are having the meeting. Some will even go as far as like having a PDF version of what was discussed during prior meetings or what will be discussed during future meetings. So that's just one of the ways we can be more involved. We can also participate in community group actions and interest groups. There are so many interest groups out there. I cannot stress it enough. There's women's group who are just big advocates on like getting women out there to vote. They have created youth councils where we have children as young as like 13, or the youth as young as 13, who can participate in like just the whole democracy of of the government, and just how everything comes into play. And those information, it can be found on like different websites, but it's called the New Jersey Youth Council. I thought that was interesting. We can participate in political campaigns. And last but not least, we can vote in our elections. That's how we can participate. And I cannot stress the importance of voting for your local elections, as and I'm not going to say as opposed to the general election, because they both are equally important. But when we vote in our local elections, those are the representatives we are electing to go to the Capitol to kind of just speak on our behalf, to speak about our interests, our concerns, and just changing things for us. So that's why it is super important to just take more of an active role in our local basic government. And I will end this short presentation with this quote from Abraham Lincoln. And it says, "Our government rests in public opinion. Whoever can change the public opinion can change the government practically just so much." So basically, it boils down to us and what we think and what our thoughts are, because we ultimately are the ones who have to kind of deal with the aftermath of it, which is why I think it's so important for us to get out there and to vote and to do what we need to do and to have an active voice, because all of these decisions that are being made, they will and they do affect us in one way or another. So if you learned anything from this video, it is to just go out there, and speak up, have your voices heard, participate in all of your town meetings if you can, county. If you can't, like I said, on the websites, there are things to read that kind of, says what was discussed. If there's anything you don't like, you can still write to your local politician and get your voices heard that way if you're not able to attend these meetings. But there are so many ways. And with modern technology, everything is at our fingertips. So I hope that you all will, do more and be more a part of your community and do what you can to have your voices heard. Once again, I'm Leonie Dumont. Thank you for joining me.